Hello, and welcome to the first video on my booktube channel of 2025. To those who do not know me, my name is Grace, and the whole point of this channel for me is really just chatting about books, but not about buying books. Because you can still have a very fulfilling reading hobby without spending all of your money on books. For example, the library exists. And that's really just what point I want to make when talking about books on this channel. Anyways, today we're gonna do a bit of a get to know the booktuber kind of thing with some of my bookish opinions or whatever. I found kind of a book related 20 questions tag on a blog. Don't know who the original creator of this 20 questions tag is, but the person I got it from was Deanie Panda Reads. So I'm gonna answer these 20 questions and share some of my opinions on these bookish things and just give some of my opinions on books in general. So let's get into the questions. Okay, the first one is, how many books are too many books in a series? So this might be a bit of a hot topic question to start off on. I love myself a series. I can't lie. I really do like getting into a series when you know the characters. It's a lot easier to just kind of hit the ground running with a plot in the second, third, whatever book. However, I think too many books in a series is really when we get to the 5 and up range. I know that that's not that many, and I know a lot of people are really into Brandy Sandy, as I call it, Brandon Sanderson, who has written 100 books or something, but I'm kind of just in the thought of 5 books maximum in a series is good for me. Any more than that and it starts getting a bit of a chore in my personal opinions, sorry to say. So I think more than 5 books, you're really gonna lose me, I think. Question number 2, how do you feel about cliffhangers? Okay, so I have mixed feelings on cliffhangers because if it's at the end of a book that's continuing on for a series, sure, at the moment I will be upset. However, it will keep me interested to read the series, and I don't mind a cliffhanger if it's building suspense and the next book is going to be really good. We're taking up where we're leaving off, all that kind of thing. But where I don't like cliffhangers is when the entire book is not that good, and then in the last 100 pages, we all know which author I'm talking about, or the little end of the book is really jam-packed and that's where all of your action is, and then you have a cliffhanger and then it's another book. Maybe try having good writing throughout the entire book instead of just cramming all of it in the end. That's just my opinion. When it comes to cliffhangers, I really don't mind them, but when it's coming at the cost of the rest of the book actually being good and interesting, and you're just trying to use the last 100 pages to make it interesting and then have a cliffhanger so you want to read the next book, cheap trick in my opinion. So it really depends on the circumstance, but in general, I do not mind cliffhangers because it's fun and it's exciting. I hate waiting for the next book, but that's just life, you know? Question number 3 is hardback or paperback? Honestly, my answer is e-reader all damn day. But if I had to choose between a physical book, paperback, or hardback, definitely paperback. I do not like reading hardback. They're just really big and annoying, and especially since I started reading on an e-reader, it's tough to get me to read a hardback book at this point in my life. Question number 4 is favorite book. That's such a hard question. I haven't read enough in the past handful of years. I think I started getting back into reading in earnest in 2021. I can't remember. And I haven't reread any books since I started reading because I just don't really have the time. I feel there's so many books to read. There's so many books to catch up on. I really don't know. I don't know what my favorite book is. I'm just gonna say, for the sake of giving an answer right now, The 7 Year Slip, because I read that romance book last year in 2024. It was so good. I really enjoyed my time reading it. It felt so magical, and I'm really excited because I'm actually going to reread it this year. I got a physical copy for my birthday. I'm really excited to reread that book, so I really hope it's as good the second time around. But I'm really excited to like highlight all the notes and stuff and like be in that world again. I really love magical realism romance. I think that's like my favorite subgenre of romance for sure. So for the sake of answering the question, I'm gonna say The 7-Year Slip, but it's like a really hard question to answer. This next question, however, not hard to answer. Least favorite book? Everyone say it with me. If you've listened to me talk about books for more than 5 minutes, you know. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. If you've heard me talk about books at all, you know that I have beef with Geneva Rose. I'm so sorry to everyone who has heard me bring up that woman's name so many times. I just do not think she writes well. Like, I don't think she has good writing. I don't think she has good twists. I don't think that her books deserve as much hype as they have, and it really actually genuinely gives me hope and makes me believe that I could one day be a published author because of how juvenile her writing is and how many books she has sold. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, or maybe You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. I've given that woman 2 chances to prove to me that she's not a horrible writer, and she has failed me both times. So I do not trust her, but like, if you genuinely think Geneva Rose has good writing, I cannot trust you or your opinion on books, unfortunately. I'm so sorry to say. Question number 6. Love triangles? Yes or no? Generally, I really am not a fan of love triangles. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule. The Hunger Games is one of my favorite series growing up, and we all know there's a love triangle in that. But in general, I'm not a fan of love triangles. They just feel really, really juvenile to me. And I think part of the reason why I steer clear of YA stuff that has any kind of romance in it is because every time there's any kind of romance in a YA book, it's always a love triangle. And it kind of pisses me off. I think the only reason that I liked it in the Hunger Games is because she kind of didn't really care about either of them too deeply at the end of the day. She was kind of like, yeah, I'm not really in the mood for romance right now, so if you could both just leave me alone. I kind of was like, okay, that's fair. But anyways, generally, no, I do not like a love triangle. Number 7, the most recent book you just couldn't finish. I think the most recent book that I DNF'd was In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I didn't even put that in my story graph. That's how few pages I read of that book. I don't want to spoil the book or anything, but yeah, there is a bit of a Groundhog Day trope, at least there is at the beginning. Those books just really don't do it for me. I don't know what it is, it just feels really repetitive and boring. Part of the reason why I really did not enjoy A Court of Silver Flames, because it just felt like the same day over and over and over and over and over again. It was so boring to me. So yeah, that was the most recent book that I just did not feel interested in finishing. The plot was not pulling me in, and the fact that it started becoming a Groundhog Day or Groundhog Week trope or whatever, I was just like, I'm good, thanks, bye. So yeah. Question number 8 is a book that you are currently reading. Currently, right now, I'm reading The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and I literally just got to the part of the plot where it starts getting interesting, and I'm really excited to keep reading. This is my second Leigh Bardugo book, and I can already tell she's going to be an author that I return to quite a lot. Number 9 is the last book that you recommended to someone, and that would be on my other channel. I recommended Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Definitely not saying, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Actually, in my other video, I had to cut out the part where I accidentally called him George. But that was the last book that I recommended to someone. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It's technically a nonfiction book, but I think it's really good and super interesting if you're interested in anti-consumerism, no-buy, low-buy, minimalism. Like, it's all of that wrapped into one, like slow living, kind of just like intentional lifestyle essentialism. Super cool. Like I say with any nonfic book rec, take every piece of advice with a huge grain of salt and just take the things that fit and leave the things that don't. I feel like you have to do that with any nonfiction book or you're just gonna drive yourself insane. So take the pieces of advice that resonate and leave the rest, okay? Like anything in life, pretty much. Question number 10 is the oldest book you've read by publication date, and that would be Pride and Prejudice by Miss Jane Austen. I was literally just talking with some people on the Discord server that I have about Jane Austen and how I would really like to read at least 1 or 2 more of her books this year because I've only read Pride and Prejudice and Emma, and I would really like to read Northanger Abbey and or Mansfield Park this year. So that's one of my goals of books to read this year. And then question number 11 is the newest book you've read by publication date. Technically, it's an arc because this publication is January 30th, 2025, and that is the book The Two Hungers of Prince Fier by Darcy Ashe. Unfortunately, I would not recommend reading this book, and I'm so sorry to Darcy Ashe for saying this, but I read this arc and I think I gave it like a 2.5 star. Like, I really understand the thing that this author was trying to do with the book, but the execution was just not good, unfortunately. So I really cannot recommend that book. It's not that much of a romance. It feels very like we're trying to say something and this is the message that we're giving and we're shoving it down your throat. So sorry. Was not a great book, but technically it's the most recent publication because it's coming out very soon. I have a lot of other arcs that I definitely need to read, but that's the most future dated arc that I've read so far, and unfortunately I do not recommend it. Okay, number 12 is favorite author, and I was thinking about this one for a minute. Honestly, probably Roald Dahl, because I have read probably every single book that man has published. I went through his entire catalog when I was in like elementary school and middle school. I could not get enough of reading all of his books, and for pure nostalgia alone and the fact that I have literally read almost his entire back catalog, I have to say that's the one. I think there's like 1 or 2 books that he's written that were not necessarily meant for children that I tried reading and then couldn't get into that I would really love to revisit now as an adult. But yeah, I don't think there's any other author that I've read like their entire back catalog, so I'd have to say that he's probably my favorite author, if only for nostalgia alone. Question number 13. So obvious what the answer is going to be for this one, but buying books or borrowing books? Obviously borrowing books, because I love the library. The fact that I read 70 books last year, nearly 70 books between audiobook and reading, and I didn't pay for a single one. We love it. We love to see it. We love to see it. So yeah, borrowing books. Libby is my best friend. Okay, number 14 is a book that you dislike that everyone else seems to love. There's definitely a few that come to mind, but the number 1 book that I think I was so surprised that I didn't love, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I was really expecting this book to do something for me. I was so excited about the dark academia vibes and like the murder mystery-ish vibes. And I think it ended up just being a little bit too plotless for me. Like, I just expected there to be more going on in the story, I think. But I was also kind of in a reading slump when I was reading it, blah, 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 whatever. I really expected to love that book, and everyone else that I talked to is so obsessed with it. Besides my best friend who I read it with, we were doing a buddy read, and we both were kind of like, are we both stupid, or is this book just not that good? So I don't know. I definitely want to give that book a second chance to see if my first initial thoughts are the same, because I was literally just finished with reading ACOTAR and then jumped straight into The Secret History, which is like eating a diet of candy for a month and then trying to eat like the healthiest salad you could ever find in your life. Your taste buds are not quite gonna be working correctly. So yeah, after reading a couple more literary fictions and classics this year, maybe in the next couple of years, I would really love to revisit The Secret History, but I just didn't love that book. I definitely don't have any strong, hard feelings against it. I was just kind of disappointed, I guess. Sorry to say. Question number 15 is bookmarks or dog ears? Personally, bookmarks. And I think that if you dog ear your books, I don't want to say you deserve jail, but there is something wrong with you, I think. A little bit. I mean, I love a beat up book as much as the next person, but when you dog ear too many pages, first of all, if you dog ear and then undog ear, like just use a freaking bookmark, like a scrap of paper, anything. You can literally use anything. You're just creating a crease in your book. That's criminal to me. If you dog ear to like specifically come back to that page many times later on, I mean, like, Post-it notes exist and scraps of paper, again, still exist, but whatever. I'm not necessarily, I might judge you a little, actually. Yeah, I definitely prefer a bookmark than a dog ear, but I also do sometimes annotate my books, so like, I can't be one to completely say that I don't deface the property of my books. So, number 16, a book you can always reread. I don't really have a great answer for this because honestly, since I've started reading, like literally from the age of 4 or 5, when I learned how to read, to now, I have only reread one series of books, and it was the Hunger Games trilogy. I read the Hunger Games trilogy on my mom's Kindle, and then the second that I finished the third book, I turned around and went, yeah, I'm gonna read that again. Read all 3 books again, right after reading it for the first time. I loved it. So theoretically, the Hunger Games trilogy is a book that I can always reread. However, I have not reread it as an adult, which I do plan to do this year, so I don't know. I really hope that they hold up as an adult. Yeah, the last time I read them, I was quite young. I'll try to insert a picture of me going to one of the movie premieres with my friends. We made shirts. We got some like puffy paint and like did the Mockingjay and like Team PETA. I was Team PETA. Still am. Yeah, we added like beads and stuff. Anyways, number 17, can you read while hearing music? Yes, I can, kind of. When it comes to listening to music while reading, I do love an ambiance when I'm reading. I love to listen to ambiance. However, usually it has to be like classical music or jazz because it's really tough for me to hear words and read words at the same time if they're not the same. The only time that I will listen to music that actually has words and read at the same time is if it's on a really low volume and it's like Korean R&B. That's the only time that I've been able to actually listen to music with words and read at the same time, is if it's like Korean R&B. Otherwise, it's classical or jazz. Can't really do anything else. Question number 18 is one or multiple POVs. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I love multiple POVs. I love all kinds of books. I don't care if it's in one POV the whole time or like a third person omniscient narrator kind of deal, but I really enjoy multiple POVs. I think it's really fun, and I think that's a huge thing in Six of Crows because there's 6 different POVs, and I'm really excited to continue reading that book. Question number 19 is, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Honestly, usually over multiple days. I don't think there's been a time in recent history that I can remember that I read a book in one sitting because I just simply do not have the time for that anymore in my life. I've read a couple of books in like a period of maybe 24 or 48 hours in the past couple of years, but yeah, in general, it takes me a couple days to read a book usually, which is totally fine. Anyways, question number 20, the last one, is a book you've read just because of the cover. Now, honestly, when I first got back into reading as an adult, like right as I was graduating college, I was definitely going to thrift stores and just being like, does the back of this book look interesting? Like, does the premise of this book look interesting? Okay, great, I'll buy it for $2, who cares? And that got me into reading a lot of random thrillers, random literary fictions, like just a bunch of really oddly assorted books. There's probably like one or two of them that I can think of that I still kind of think about, and one that I probably would love to reread because I can't stop thinking about it. The twist was so interesting, like it was good. There was like, I don't know, I'm such a hoe for like the past is being uncovered in a book, like as we go, like things are uncovered. I just love that. It's so fun because it feels like a mystery, but it doesn't necessarily have to be one. Anyways, I think one book that I read the back and I was kind of like, whatever. And the front, the cover was just like really pretty and I was like kind of intrigued by it. So I bought it mainly for the cover, and that was Euphoria by Lily King. I remember the book being pretty good, like nothing crazy to write home about, but I definitely read it mainly because of the cover, because the premise of the book is like not something that I would have necessarily picked out for myself normally. But anyways, that concludes my little get to know me 20 questions situation. If you have any strong opinions on any of the questions that I answered or any of my opinions on things, please let me know your differing opinions or similar opinions in the comments below. I will see you really soon in the next one. I believe my next video is going to be a 2025 journal setup video. I would have done that on my main channel, but I feel like it kind of exists more in the booky realm, so I just am gonna do it over here. So anyways, until then, I'm wishing you all the best, sending you all my love, because we're all just trying our best out here. So happy reading. See you later.